Hi, Bob Hooey here from Alberta Speakers, and we're speaking with my amazing friend Darci Lang, who's in cold Regina, although it's cold here in Edmonton today too. So thank you so much, Darci, for spending some time with us. Hopefully your viewers will get to know you a little better and maybe say, hey, let me put this lady to work, get her out of Regina, get her someplace warm in the world.
Well, apparently Alberta's not warmer than Regina today.
I know, that's the sad part. I tell you, I can hardly wait till Cuba at the end of the month, but
No
going
kidding.
going down
Thank
to
you
thaw
so
out.
much.
But anyway, let me ask you a question. This is one of the questions that I've asked each of our speakers because people want to know.
Yeah.
So tell us why you started your speaking career and how long have you been doing it?
Sure. I'll answer first. This is my 26th year. So yeah, I know next month will be my 27th year. Bob, you and I have been around for a
I
while.
know. Yeah, but you look so
And,
much better than I do for all this time. Or you started so much younger.
well, I'm so blessed with this great life. And why I got into the speaking business is I'm 50 now. So when I was 24, I bought a tuxedo rental company. And my bank, I got a lot of media attention. I brought my own store to Regina, Saskatchewan, and I was very young then doing such an entrepreneurial thing. And my bank manager, a week after I bought my store, came into the store and was looking around and said, hey, I really like your attitude, your philosophy, how you're running your business. Can you tell me, do you have a secret? And I said, well, actually, I do, Ed. I believe that we'll hold this big magnifying glass up in front of us in our lives, and that we have a choice what we focus it on. I told him, that we can wake up and see the good in our business, in our life, with our staff and at home. And he said, oh, that's a really neat idea. He said, what percentage of life do you think is great? And I said, oh, about 90%. And he said, you know what, I really like that idea. And I have a staff meeting next week. I'm wondering if you would come to the staff meeting and share that idea at my staff meeting. And can you imagine, Bob, that led to this 26-year career?
Oh, isn't that amazing
So
how that
blessed.
happens?
Incredible. And I speak, I have teenagers, and I tell my teenagers all the time, say yes to everything, because you never know the thing you're supposed to do, because who knew, Bob, who knew this was going to be my thing?
Yeah. Well, and often, you have a dream sometimes, but you don't know until you take that first step. And then people react and then all of a sudden you're doing what you're doing. Like in my case, traveling the world. That was
Exactly.
my dream when I came to Toastmasters back in 1991. I wanted to speak around the world and encourage people. And it took a while. And then all of a sudden it started taking off. So did I.
Wow. How blessed are we?
It's fun. It's fun. And that's why I'm staying semi-retired until I at least hit 85. So then I'll think about retiring.
Perfect.
So let me ask you another question. I know that because I've heard you speak several times, and you're amazing on the platform. You're engaging. You get people thinking. You get them doing stuff. You get them going and getting into their brains, and then getting out and getting stuff done. But what do you think your clients actually get from you when they engage you?
Well, I take a very holistic approach to that answer, Bob. Firstly, let's talk about if we went through the cycle of hiring me, right? So when they call, they get a very low maintenance, easy to deal with speaker. So that's very important to us. As I mentioned in my lead up to our call here today, my admin assistant Sandra and I have worked together for the full 26 years that I've been a speaker.
Wow.
I know, I'm so blessed, and so we just have such a system in place for making sure that it's easy for the client, that they're dealing with somebody who's shows up early, who doesn't make anything difficult. That's really important to us. Kindness is the base of my life, Bob. Like everything I do is wrapped in kindness. So that's the first step. Yeah. So then when we get to what they're going to get from us is an easy to deal with professional office. Okay, check. Then when I get to the actual event, to the staff meeting, to the conference, convention, then again, I'm early, I pre-ship, nothing's a problem. That's really important to me. But then they're going to get a message that is one concept, one idea. And so I think that's very important because as you and I've sat at the back of the room for a long time watching everybody speak. And I think it's hard sometimes to go to these conferences. They're change fatigued, they're overwhelmed, they're overworked, they're underpaid, they're leading full lives with their own personal lives. Then they come to these conferences and to these staff meetings and training days to be pumped up. It's hard to remember 9 ways to do that.
Yes.
So what I offer them with this one focus on the 90% idea is that I offer them this one simple tool to help to see their life through a different lens. Because I'm not discounting, Bob, for a second, that life is hard. I'm not discounting that work is difficult, that people are difficult, and navigating family relationships is not difficult. I'm not disputing that for a second. But what I want to offer them is hope, with one more tool on how to do that in a new and fresh way. Then I leave, and they had a conference that not only did they get a speaker that delivered a simple message that's easy to apply, but from somebody who's really relatable, because I'm not someone standing up on stage saying, my life is perfect and you should live your life like me. Far from it.
If only that was true.
Amen. So that's what they're going to get. And everybody leaves with their own magnifying glass and this fresh new perspective on what I call one more tool for your personal professional toolbox. Okay. To just wake up in the morning and say, despite minus 44 today, what's good? What's positive? What can I do to take out my lens and say, hey, I'm healthy, I'm upright, I'm on a Zoom call with Bob Hooey. The list goes on, right?
Well, it's nice to be included in that. What's right with the world.
Well, today for sure you are, Bob.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask you another question. So, over the 26 years, you've worked with a lot of groups and people. What would be your ideal client?
That's a good question. I would say 50% of my work is keynoting, 50% of my work is workshops, okay. Right? So I think you and I know those are two different clients, right? So I'm a very popular keynote conference, kick the conference off keynoter, and I'm a very popular kick them home on the end note, right? Yeah. Because that's a tougher slot just to fill because people are tired, they maybe had a little bit of partying the night before and all that. So when it comes to my keynoting business, a conference is definitely what I do there. On my workshop, my ideal client is I do a lot, I'm trying to think of who I have coming up, but I do a lot of government departments. I do a lot of association conferences. I host my own public events. So I'd say those are the two. Really, I fill that generic motivational speaker slot on the conference agenda. And then I can also do very meaty workshops in a training capacity or as a breakout at the conference as well.
And that makes you valuable to somebody hiring you. They can bring you in for both those things and only pay the one travel.
Most definitely. And
that's one of the things I tell people, hire me, you get double the value.
Right. Sorry to cut you off there. Exactly. And what I like to do is a keynote and then do a deeper dive session.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's been popular, not as popular, but mostly doing keynote. Tomorrow,
and there's a lot of speakers that really know what they're doing that do that, because that brings added value to the client. And to their teams or their audience members, whoever it is. And I think that's the key thing that helps us stay in business for, in your case, 26 years. In my case, probably about the same time, I guess. I'd have to think about it. My goodness, I'm old.
That makes me old.
Actually, I'll be turning 71 this year. And
that's amazing.
I'm having my birthday in Barcelona. I'm inviting a few speakers, and we're going to have a mini conference for PSA Spain. That's my birthday present to me. So
that sounds like an epic way to spend 71.
Why not invite a few hundred people and some other speakers and speak on stage? It's a wonderful gift. Well, let me ask you some more questions here. We're supposed to be just doing this, but having fun too much. So want to share with us a few of your success stories, some of the things that where you've been involved and you've seen people take what you teach them and actually use it.
Well, I think that for me, it's difficult to be self-promoting, as you know, but my very Honestly, because I am such a holistic woman and I feel very called to this business of mine and very grateful and abundant for what I get to do. For me, the greatest success stories are when people come up in Costco or in an audience 10 years later and say, you saved my marriage, I quit my job, you allowed me to go see a coworker in a new and different way. Because I challenge people to not only see their life through because I challenge people to see their life through the 90% lens, Bob, I challenge them to do that at work, to go into their workplace and see their job in a new and fresh way. Or if your 10% list is longer than your 90% list, maybe reconsider that. I ask people to really, in a world of inclusivity and what connects us, what unites us, what makes us the same, I really challenge people to see their coworkers through the 90% lens, because it's really difficult to build culture with people who are unhappy. So a success story is when somebody tells me that that has happened, their culture has been shifted by people showing up and seeing, their job and their coworkers in a new and different way. I'd say the best success stories for me are absolutely how people are helping navigate their own mental health, their family's mental health, their personal challenges, Bob, in a new and different way. Because you and I know our audience members and our staff, they come to us with addictions and mental health and self-esteem issues and marriage problems and money problems. And, people are overworked, they're stressed. And if I can offer the success story for me is if I can offer them just one more tool, one more thing they can pull out of their toolbox on a rough day and say, okay, what do I need to do, the person in the mirror, to take out this big magnifying glass and talk about what is good, what can I control, what can I dig into? Those are my greatest success stories.
Marvelous. And you mentioned something that got me thinking. You mentioned keep marriages working. Now, I know that you and Darren are both speakers, and I actually asked him the same question. So how is it working with your spouse? How do you make it work?
Well,
how do you work differently?
They call us Oprah and Dr. Phil in our house. And, to make it work, the ability, honestly, my friends and I talk about this all the time, Bob, having this idea of seeing others through my 90% lens. The reason I'm so passionate about it, Bob, is because it is literally how I live my life and how it has transformed me as a woman. I've missed one engagement in 26 years. I show up every time with my big hair done and a smile on my face, give my clients the absolute best of me. But most importantly, Bob, is for 26 years, I've come home and given my family the same woman. And 90% of the time, 90% of the time. But for me, to be married to my husband who also has tools in his toolbox and preaches them, and to be able to come home and see my family through a lens that should treat them basically the same way I just treated everybody in the audience that day, that's been unbelievable. Because as you know, we don't have a perfect marriage. But we have lots of that we navigate in this home with teenagers, Bob. But it has been unbelievable to say, hey, does our own material actually work at home? And as you know from the interview, I have an unbelievable husband. I have the nicest husband, besides you, of course, Bob, but I have the nicest husband on the planet who literally, Bob, tries every single day to be the best version of himself. How can you possibly not be grateful to live with somebody who wakes up and says, what do I need to do today to be the best that I can be? Because Bob, if I let my outside circumstances, my husband's had a mental health journey, my son's having a mental health journey, my daughter's been unwell physically, if I let all of these challenges in my life be what I focused on, how would I get out the door?
Yeah.
So I think this life of mine and traveling every week, you and I know we have 10%. This life of mine has given me rich content because it's really easy to talk about being positive when things are going good in your life, Bob. But what do you do when they're not? Mm-hmm. And what can you do to just say, okay, this is my new normal. This is my current reality. What does Darci Lang need to do to go rock it out, but come home and be the best I can be for the greatest family I ever could have wished for?
And you have been that. I remember, because we've known each other for a long time. And I remember one of the things that really impressed me is when you were younger in the business. I'll say that because you're younger than me.
Good answer.
You
Well put.
told me that you deliberately did not take a lot of travel because you wanted to be around for your young children. And I really admired that. That was a choice that a lot of people might not have made. And I think it was the right one for you. And, I just wanted to compliment you on that so that people know that you walk your talk. Even way back when I first met you, you've walked your talk. And I love that. So.
Thank you, Bob. Well, we traveled as a family for 5 years. Like my children are 19 and 17 now, but back in the day, when they were born, my husband took a leave for 5 years and we traveled for 5 years as a family. So I have lived and breathed what I've preached, Bob. And that worked for my family. That doesn't work for everybody. And some shouldn't do that. But I think my point in this interview and me trying to get across to people who would be interested in hiring a speaker, it's important that who you hire lives and breathes what they preach.
Exactly.
And every fiber of my being, I live and breathe what I preach. I am not perfect. I'm not focusing on the 100%. I don't preach a message that life is perfect and I am perfect. What I preach is, this is my job. These are my team members. This is my family. Here's what I do to be upright, nourished, taken care of, taking ruthless care of me so I can go do what I do all week, but then come home and give my family the best of me. Mm-hmm. I think that's the most important, because what a hollow, lonely place to get your self-esteem from, Bob.
Exactly.
Your work, right? Why would we ever go home? Why would I come home and leave a granite bathroom and a bed that's made for me and food that's cooked for me to come home and pick up dog poo and fill crock pots, right?
That's the quick grounding that happens. Where you come home
Amen.
And you're sick on your bed or whatever. But
right.
Well, let me ask you one more question. 2 questions, actually. I know you have a new book out. You want to tell everybody about that? And the second part, as you mentioned that you were just in the studio for 3 days. So what was that all about?
Okay, sure. I'll answer the first question. I have 2 books. My first book is Focus on the 90%, which is the base message that I share. Again, this magnifying glass idea, everybody gets a magnifying glass. So Focus on the 90% book I wrote 12 years ago, and I've actually written 7 editions of that book. So that I'm very proud of that book, and just sell it out. I'm so grateful for that book. And then this last 2019 year, I wrote Living the 90%. Cool. So it's a bit of a part 2, though they don't have to read that way. It's a part 2 because I have had, as we've alluded to, ample opportunity to live and breathe this message, and it's more of a deep dive in how I really have been living it. I have 2 books on the radar right now. I'm writing a woman's book called Embrace the 90%, and then I'm going to write a 4th book on leadership, which is loosely based around kind leadership, because I think the world needs some more kind leaders.
Yes.
I was in the studio. Sorry, I cut you off. Please go ahead, Bob.
No, I just was saying, yes, we do need more kind leadership.
We do. And then in the studio this week, I'm taping YouTube videos because I could give you a whole other hour on how my really sweet full brain works, but I need to go in studio to do YouTube. And so I taped 30 more YouTube videos and a new promo video. Yeah, really blessed. So I have a very creative, fired up brain that has to compartmentalize. So that's what I've been doing this week. So it's a rich, full week.
And now you're off to Saskatoon to speak. So, Darci, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us. And I want to invite our viewers to visit your website and to visit Alberta Speakers and chat with you about how they can help themselves and their teams with programs and events, whatever it takes, because you're going to bring the authentic Darci Lang right there for them. So any last words you'd like to share?
Oh, thank you for saying that, authentic. That's been so important to me, Bob, and I'm super grateful. I mean, you're such a wonderful, kind, loving man, and I'm just so grateful that you would take the opportunity to care enough about all of us to create this site and all you do to promote our careers. So thank you, Bob, for that.
All right. Well, thank you very much.